Hey, everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Friday night, last day of February? So, tomorrow is the first of the month. Anyway, roller skater Texas girl is here with us, or an imposter. I don't know which. It could be either. That looks like authentic roller skater Texas girl stuff to me, though, but maybe not. Because right after that, we have Jared with H2BH. H2BH. But those people, lately, at least yesterday, up to shenanigans. It's okay. It's okay. She says she's real. It doesn't matter if you're real or not. Nobody's real on the internet. You could be a cat. The wolf is here with us. Gilman is here with us. Smoke detectors. Everybody's here. Hey, listen, do me a favor before we get going too far. Please, tonight I'm going to tell you all about Lost in Space, the 60s TV show. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those free things, don't cost you a penny, that you can do that help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. And then we also have super chats and memberships, and we love it when you take advantage of those because daddy needs a new pair of shoes, helps pay the bill around here, all that stuff. And then also turn on your gifted membership. Somebody might gift you a membership. They might gift you a membership. Jared says, we miss you, Tom. No, you don't. No, you don't. I'm not, the mood swings of certain people. No, I'm kidding. The real reason is my Discord application, and Jared, you know this because you have Mac, my Discord, it does the thing where it's got 92 updates and it finishes that and then it goes out of the application. And I've uninstalled it and I've removed it completely from my computer, installed it, done all the stuff. It just keeps doing it. It won't load me actually into Discord. And of course, all the non-Mac people go, well, here's what you ought to. So anyway, I'll try again. I haven't tried in a week or two, I guess. Up fingers, yes, please, as they say, smash that like button, which I think is just destructive. I think it's really out of line. Don't smash it. You just gently click it. It has the same effect. Roller skater Texas girl says, oh, okay, the nut job is here cloning, I guess. But I know it's you. And there's ways that you could tell me that it's you. Little secret hidden, send me a thing about the girl at the place it's way too young. Way too young. Mac and Discord don't get along. That is so true. Hey, tonight I'm going to tell you about Lost in Space, by popular demand, by the way. Before I go too far, however, next week on this program, I think Monday is going to be Bigfoot. I think on Tuesday, we are going to do the Wild Wild West. On Wednesday, Color TV. And on Thursday, Recessa Annie, the legendary training doll for dudes that want to make out or people that want to learn CPR. Chef is in the house. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet by verification of independent sources. Let me get into Lost in Space here. Let's get into it, shall we? By the way, behind me, a rendering of the spaceship. See that? The Jupiter 2, the spaceship on Lost in Space. Let's see, Solid Snake says, oh, hell no, you got damn near break it. Stanley, come on, Stanley. Stanley, you know good and damn well you and them Republicans. Anyway, it's my Solid Snake. Solid Snake's a great guy. I like Solid Snake a lot. The Wolf is here. Oh, programming note. On Sunday, if you have a membership to the Tom Gulley Show, we have a members-only program going on Sunday at 1 Eastern. Ask the Wolf. Ask the Wolf. Ask him any questions you want, or we'll just tell stories. Annie, are you okay? Let's see here. Solid Snake says, what's up, Tom? I got to go to work, man. You know, This water supply they got here, they're going to be closing down the whole town. Come on, Stanley. Solid is a sweetheart. Solid Snake is a sweetheart. Anyway, let's just get into Lost in Space, shall we? Lost in Space, the American science fiction television series, created and produced by Irwin Allen, who also produced lots and lots of other things, Land of the Giants, but he also produced hugely successful movies like Earthquake and other movies in Sense Around. But anyway, Lost in Space aired between 1965 and 1968 on CBS. It was somewhat dramatic, but mostly comedic in tone, and it was actually inspired by the famous novel Swiss Family Robinson. And it followed the adventures of these folks in front of you, the Robinsons, pioneering family of space colonists struggling to survive, having been set adrift inadvertently in outer space. 83 episodes, the first season, 1 hour episodes in black and white. The next two seasons, however, shot entirely in color. I should mention that actually the last episode of season number 1 had just a couple minutes of color in it, but that was the only one. Hey, dig this. In October of 1997. Now remember, this was done in 1965, so 1997 seems so far away. But the series starts in October of 1997. Now you think back to 1997. Did we dress this way? Were we flying to other planets for jollies? No, we weren't. Anyway, the Earth is becoming overpopulated, and the United States, therefore, wants to colonize space. They want to make little Earth outposts all over space. So this vessel, the Jupiter 2 that I showed you behind me, is making the final preparations to go into space. And the job of that spaceship is to take one family on a 5.5-year journey to an Earth-ish, an Earth-like planet orbiting Alpha Centauri, which is another star in our galaxy. The Robin family consists of, okay, let's do this left to right, shall we? Oh, excuse me. Left to right, here's who we have. Now, I might skip one. Now, let's do it like this. They consist of a married couple, and the married couple is the guy on the upper right, who is John Robinson. He's played by Guy Williams, who also played Zorro. Maureen Robinson, who is sort of, well, she's holding the little boy there. June Lockhart, who you might remember from Depends commercials, or Lassie. They have 3 children. Judy, she's the smoking hot blonde there, right? Penny, who's younger than Judy, and she's the girl on the far left. And, of course, Will Robinson. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. And he, of course, is Billy Mooney, and he's in the lower right-hand corner. Now, John is a professor, and the little family that we have here is accompanied by, who's that guy holding the 2 chicks, you say, in the green? Well, that's U.S. Space Corps Major Don West, who is played by Mark Goddard. We'll get into the dynamics of the folks that are on this show and the actors and the plots in a second, because there was actually, I wouldn't say a ton of strife, but boy, there was strife amidst the cast on this show at a certain point. And then, of course, maybe the most famous of the human cast members is right in the middle there in the black. Yes, Dr. Zachary Smith, played by Jonathan Harris. Oh, the pain, the pain, the pain. Anyway. And this whole family was to be cryogenically frozen for their trip, and they would be unfrozen when they arrived at their destination. Now, Dr. Smith, because he's a real jerk. I mean, let's face it, the guy is a real jerk, Dr. Smith. You know, He's a physician working for Alpha Control, which is the sort of organization that's controlling the launch and this thing. He's a saboteur working on behalf of some unknown nation or unknown group. And he accidentally, after reprogramming the Jupiter 2's environmental control robot, who we see, you know, the robot's right there in the middle. I don't really have to show you again. I'll give you a better picture of it later in just a couple seconds here. Well, you know, forget that. I'm going to give it to you right now. There you go. There's Dr. Smith and the robot that he reprograms. And he reprograms it to destroy all the critical systems on the spaceship 8 hours after launch. But Dr. Smith is trapped aboard after the launch, and all of the critical systems being destroyed, and his extra weight throws the Jupiter 2 off course, causing it to encounter a bunch of various heavenly bodies, asteroids, other things. So the robot's damage and his extra weight causes the ship to go into hyperdrive too soon. It prematurely hyperdrives, which affects about 1 in 11 American men. Anyway, the expedition becomes hopelessly lost in the infinite depths of outer space. Okay, now this show was on for 3 seasons. And the reason I know about it, well, I watched the originals, but the reason many of you know about this show is because it was heavily syndicated. Heavily syndicated. Let me get through a few of your chats real quickly, and then we'll get back to what kind of was going on each of the 3 seasons. Well, I don't hardly have any chats. Smoke Detector says, I think that's Matt LeBlanc there in the bottom right. That's not Matt LeBlanc. Jared says, hell yeah. And the Smoke Detector there says, this is a much darker preface than I was expecting. Yes, well, this show could actually weirdly be a little bit dark. It could be a little bit dark at times. At times. I mean, there were times when Will Robinson was going to die or somebody was going to die. One of the many aliens they met on the various planets, for some trumped up reason, would want to kill one of them. Anyway, the first season began as the ship had survived, but they're lost in space, hence the title. The Jupiter 2 crash lands on an alien world. And Will, the little boy, Billy Mooney, I've got a picture of him. I couldn't get, he was a very successful child actor. He was in a ton of stuff. He correctly identifies this planet that they were crashed on for the first season as Priplanus. And they're on that planet the whole first season. They don't go anywhere else. That's the only place they are. Dr. Smith, he remains with the family, of course. What else are they going to do? And he's the source of this comic, cowardly, villainy, totally, constantly trying to screw things up for everybody for really no reason. I mean, there's not. It's just other than the guy was a real jerk. Okay, he was just a real jerk. And Professor Robinson, for some reason, is always forgiving him. And I never understood that either. I would have cut that dude adrift so fast. Now, in season 2, shows in color, the repaired Jupiter 2, they'd managed to repair it. Because, see, Dr. Smith and Major Don West, they were geniuses at this kind of thing. And they spent all their time refining rocks and making their own wires and circuit boards. They repair the Jupiter 2. And it goes into space one more time because Priplanus, that planet they were on the whole first season, is going to blow up. It's got earthquakes. Also, they got to get out of there. They got to get out of there. So the Robinsons crash land on a strange new world, only to become bound to that planet again. Now, when I say they were bound to a planet, that's true. That's true. But see, aliens from elsewhere would come onto their planet, which really sounds bad now that I think of it, phrasing, would arrive on their planet It just sounds bad because there's, you know, the two girls involved, Judy and Penny. Anyway, these other aliens would visit them, and the aliens were always really strange on this show. Might also, well, I'll get to that later. There's another thing that shaped why the aliens were the way they were on this program, which is super important as it pertains to Irwin Allen Productions, which always did big, giant action type programs. In the third season, final season, there was a format change. In this season, the Jupiter 2 travels around freely in space for about 7 episodes. They would visit a planet and then leave it at the end. And they visit new worlds, they crash, they control land sometimes as the family tries to return to Earth, or at least get to where they were headed to begin with, Alpha Centauri system, Earth-like land. There's a space pod they introduce, which is kind of like a shuttlecraft. Really, it's what it is. And this season had a new theme song and opening credits, which is stupid because the opening of Lost in Space, I wish I could show it here for you, which gets me back to, and I'm going to say this every time we do a TV show, I should be able to show the trailers or the openings of any TV show. The people that own these properties should freely allow people to replay those because you're just promoting their show. But they don't. But and the little, like the oxygen tube or whatever and all the it's really cool. You have to check it out sometime. I've already covered the cast. One of the cast members that I didn't cover very much. Well, I can tell you a few things about the cast members. As we mentioned, Dr. Professor John Robinson, astrophysicist who specializes in applied planetary geology, for those of you keeping score at home. Now, his wife was no housewife. She was a biochemist who prepared meals, tended the garden, helped with a little light construction every now and then. Major Don West, well, let's get back to these guys again. Major Don West there, he was the action hot guy, let me fight people. I'm the dude around here trying to be the alpha male, even though, look at John Robinson. You know he was the alpha. But anyway, his military training and discipline is relied upon by the castaways. Judy Robinson, smoking hot blonde lady, who, by the way, happy belated birthday, Marta Kristen, who played Judy Robinson. She turned 80 years young just 2 days ago. So, Marta Kristen, happy birthday. She's the oldest Robinson child. She's in her early 20s, and man, her and Major West are sparking. People would say nowadays they ship Major Don West and Judy Robinson. Penny Robinson over there, Angela Cartwright, had a very good, long acting career. Still does, I guess. She was the middle child. She's 11. She loves animals and classical music, long walks on the beach and old movies. Okay, I added the last two in there. Early in the series, she acquires a chimpanzee-like alien pet, which she names Debbie, and is usually referred to as the bloop for the sound it makes. Now, Will Robinson is the youngest child, and boy, he is precocious. He's a mischievous little guy, but smart as a whip. He is a child prodigy in electronics and computer technology. And he's actually a colonel for some reason, Zachary Smith. He was supposed to be sort of a flight surgeon, and he's later referred to as Doctor of Intergalactic Environmental Psychology. He's an expert in cybernetics and an enemy agent. He didn't want this to succeed. Very selfish, scheming, lazy, very lazy. And these selfish little schemes and laziness, he constantly endangers the whole family with just some, I don't feel like watching them gauge on this particular. I mean, he's just ick, okay? later in the series, he's less sinister, but young Will Robinson and the robot are often the ones that thwart Dr. Smith's machinations. Wow. I was using big words today, kids. Anyway, so the robot, there's actually a guy named Bob May operated the robot because somebody had to operate that thing, believe it or not. And it was voiced by a legendary voice actor named Dick Tufeld. He's all over every cartoon you've ever heard. He's in commercials and everything else. The robot was a B9 model class YM3 environmental control robot who was no name. They would just call it robot. The machine was endowed with superhuman strength and futuristic weaponry and often displays human emotions. It'll like cry or, whatever. So there you go. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I should have turned my microphone on, but I'm stupid. Now there's June Lockhart with what you'll learn is a very expensive piece of television set work. Let's see here. Why don't we get to a few of your comments? I see there's a lot more of them than I thought. Writer's block, said Roller Skater Texas. Go, can't leave the planet. No, not at first. The Wolf says, pleased as pie on the surface, but very pugnacious underneath. Inez says, black and white episodes were my favorite. Roller Skater Texas Girls, why doesn't Airstream make a saucer camper? Hey, that's a good idea. Why don't you take that idea to him? Sounds kind of like a housewife. No, she was, but she also, molecular baloney. Yeah, she probably made some of that in her day. Wow. Let's see here. Funky Bronco. Funky? Yeah, Funky, I'm just going to start ignoring your comments because they're all, let's get drunk. I'm drunk. I love Wolfie. I love Doc. There's the full Wolfie comments on the show. The Wolf says, Roller, there's actually a small portable house made that looks like the Jupiter tool. It looks similar to the Jupiter 2, sure. Let's see here. Roller Skater Texas Girls. I'm going to look that up. And I'm not going to even dignify that. Now, during the 3-season run, they did have some awesome guest stars. Awesome guest stars. And for those of you who don't know 60s and 70s television, not all of these will be familiar to you, but for those of you who do, you're going to be pleased as punch. Michael and Sarah, John Carradine, Ted Cassidy, who you might remember as Lurch from the Addams Family. Michael Conrad, you might remember him from Hill Street Blues. And hey, let's be careful out there. That guy. Hans Conried, who is a famous voiceover guy. Wally Cox. Royal Dano. Royal Dano is almost equal to John Daner in his TV durability. Sherry Jackson. Smokin' Hot. Artie Johnson from Laugh-In. Werner Klemperer. Yes. Colonel Klink from Hogan's Heroes. Al Lewis, Grandpa from the Munsters. Struther Martin. You know who Struther Martin is. What we have here is a failure to communicate. Warren Oates. Sergeant Hulka from Stripes. Sure. Michael Rennie from The Day the Earth Stood Still. Michael Rennie was ill the day the earth stood still. Kurt Russell. Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy. You know Kurt Russell. Come on. Death Proof. Albert Salmi. Another guy. Almost. We may do an Albert Salmi show because he's darn near John Daner. Darn near. Daniel J. Travianti, also of Hill Street Blues. And believe it or not, Robbie the Robot also made a guest production. Props and monsters in this show were recycled from other Irwin Allen shows. So a sea monster outfit that had been on, let's say, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea might just get spray painted and then be on Lost in Space. And vice versa. The monster costumes from Lost in Space might get used on another show. So there you go. Computers and tape drives were often depicted using actual real computer stuff from Burroughs 205, which was a computer company during the 60s. Founded in 1886, by the way. Filming took place at 20th Century Fox in their studios and stages in Los Angeles. For seasons 1 and 2, it was on stage 11 and stage 6. Due to budget cuts in the third season, the Jupiter 2, the campsite, which was always right outside the sort of sliding open door of the Jupiter 2, and the lower deck were shifted to stage 17. Stage 11 was used for planet exterior, cave, and various alien planet sets. Now, despite being credited, then this is a big shift. And by the way, this is Marta Kristen, who just turned 80 2 days ago. Marta, happy birthday, belatedly. Hold on here just a second. So there's a little strife. There's a little thing that happens in shows. Like, for instance, in Happy Days, Fonzie was never, ever going to be a main character. Ever. But he became one. He just became so popular that more and more Fonzie, please. Despite being credited as a special guest star in every episode, Dr. Smith became the center of the show. The show's writers thought he was just going to be a temporary villain who would only appear in the very first episodes, but Jonathan Harris, the guy who played the pain, Dr. Smith, he wanted to stay on longer, but he found his character was really boring. And he also thought it would bore the viewing public. So he started rewriting his lines and redefining his character and started playing Smith in an attention-getting, flamboyant style. And he would ad-lib lines with ripe, colorful dialogue. And by the end of the first season, the character was established as a self-serving coward whose moral conceit and contrasting deceitfulness, along with his alliterative insults, normally aimed at the robot, became just a foundation of the show. And Lost in Space is remembered for many of the catchphrases from the show, like the robot's "Warning, warning, I sense danger. It does not compute. Danger, Will Robinson." You know, that whole thing. Smith's put-downs of the robot were also very popular, and Harris would tell people about how he used to lie in bed at night dreaming up new ways to insult the robot. "You bubble-headed booby, you cowardly clump, you tin-plated traitor, you cackling cacophony, you blithering blatherskaya, traitorous transistorized toad." But the big line of his was, "Oh, the pain, the pain." Oh, and another one of his was, "Never fear, Smith is here." One of his last roles was providing the voice of a praying mantis in Disney's A Bug's Life, who also says, "Oh, the pain," near the end of the film. The catchphrase "Danger, Will Robinson," by the way, was also used as the slogan of the 1998 film based on this series. So there you go. And by the way, the film's website was dangerwillrobinson.com. There were some legal issues. Before the series started, about 3 years before the series started, Gold Key Comics, which was kind of a family comic. It wasn't as much of a superhero-y comic. But anyway, Gold Key Comics published a series of comic books under the name Space Family Robinson, inspired by Swiss Family Robinson, just like this TV show. The film and television rights to the comic book were then purchased by noted television writer Hilda Boehm from the Cisco Kid. And she even had a treatment made up to have a series of that kind. Well, Irwin Allen had a big hit with Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which is a show we may do on this program someday. But to follow it up, he's looking for a property, and he gets the idea for Lost in Space, Space Family Robinson, but not theirs, because that would have been copyright and everything else. And he sold this concept to CBS. So CBS is like, wait, there's already a thing out there, comic book Space Family Robinson, so we're going to change the title to Lost in Space, which they did. Nevertheless, Hilda Boehm filed a claim against Irwin Allen and CBS Television shortly before the series premiered, and there was an agreement. There was an agreement, which means they settled out of court. Yeah, boy, oh boy. Let's see if you guys got any more comments here. Autofap Carradine. Nice. Terry Nee says, danger, Tom Gulley. Danger. Speaking of danger, Terry Nee, let's see. Golden Key. Oh, the pain. My delicate back. Oh, the pain. Hey, do me a favor. Please like, share, subscribe, notification bell. Liking and subscribing don't cost you a penny. Just give them a quick click if you would. That helps us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm. Plus, we do have super chats. We do have memberships. I know it's not evident so far during the show, but we do, and we appreciate that because that helps us pay the bills around here. And then lastly, please turn on your gifted memberships. It tells how in the scroll at the bottom of the page right there. And somebody might come in here and gift you a free membership, and then you can get that exclusive members-only content that we do on the weekends. This weekend, 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, it'll be a very special episode of the Tom Gulley Show. Ask the Wolf. Ask the Wolf. And you guys all know the Wolf. He'll be answering your questions on grooming, home and garden, automotive. He'll just answer your question. Yeah. CBS actually bought Lost in Space. And when they did it, they were considering another show. And they turned that show down. Good as Lost in Space is heavily syndicated as it has been to this day, some 60 years later. They turned down Star Trek to get Lost in Space. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the first season, like I mentioned earlier, was mostly the Robinsons and their daily stuff. But the show's format quickly changed to like a Monster of the Week style. And a lot of the shows were loosely based on fantasy and fairy tales. Now, in January of '66, ABC scheduled Batman as the same time slot as Lost in Space, which was a big problem because Lost in Space had started to appeal because of Will Robinson and the robot and Dr. Smith to a much younger audience, as did Batman. Season 2 imitated a lot of the campy humor from Batman so they could compete against Batman. And so bright outfits, over-the-top action, outrageous villains in completely outlandish stories, just like Batman, started to be the board of fare on Lost in Space. Stories giving all the characters focus were sacrificed in favor of a growing emphasis on Dr. Smith and the robot and Will. And according to Billy Mooney here, oh boy, Mark Goddard and Guy Williams, there you see Guy Williams. Mark Goddard was the action Major Don West. Both of them really, because when they got into the show, it was going to be about science fiction. That's what they signed on for. They really didn't like the shift away from serious science fiction and the shift away from the importance of their characters. I mean, after a while, all their characters were there to do is go, Dr. Smith, if you've made the pulse capacitor go awry, there's going to be heck to pay. You know, that's about all they did. Maybe a quick romantic scene with Judy Robinson just to get people's pulses up. I don't know. The third season had more adventure, but the episodes like The Great Vegetable Rebellion with guest actor Stanley Adams as Tybo, the talking carrot. Yes, a giant carrot. With the reputation of being the most insipid and bizarre episode in television history with Tybo the Talking Carrot, Marta Kristen, by the way, just turned 80 2 days ago. Happy birthday. Recalled that Mark Goddard, Major Don West, complained that here's what he complained. He complained this: 7 years of Stanislavski method acting has led to talking to a carrot. The Jupiter 2 is now functional and traveling from planet to planet, but episodes still tended to be whimsical and humorous, including space hippies, pirates, intergalactic zoos, ice princesses, and an intergalactic beauty pageant. During the first two episodes, the show ended with a live-action freeze that a lot of shows back then would do. It's just everything stopped and froze with a cliffhanger caption, "To be continued next week, same time, same channel." For the third season, each episode's conclusion was immediately voiced by Dick Tufeld, the robot, advising viewers to stay tuned for scenes from next week's exciting adventure. And then scenes from the next episode were presented, followed by the closing credits, which I was discussing with Ed Robertson. Ed Robertson was the member of the Robinson family that didn't get taken on the trip. Ed Robertson and I was talking about the habit back in those days of previewing the next week at the end of 1 week. Here's a few exciting scenes. In fact, if you go to my podcast, here's a few exciting scenes from this episode of the Tom Gulley Show. And that was common, and I love that because it's so old school. So old school. After the show was canceled, it's been successful in reruns and syndication for many, many years, starting with the USA Network in the mid-late 80s. It's been on FX, Sci-Fi, MeTV, Hulu, and it was in your local markets before all of those networks. Why was it canceled? I hear you cry. Especially with smoking hot Marta Kristen, turned 82 days ago. Well, in early 1968, after the third season episode Junkyard in Space was done filming, the cast and crew were casually, informally led to believe that the series had been picked up for a fourth season. Irwin Allen had ordered new scripts to be written for the coming season, but a few weeks later, CBS announced the complete list of returning TV shows for the 68-69 season, and Lost in Space wasn't on the list. CBS executives failed to offer any reason why it was canceled, but the most likely reason was that it was very expensive to produce. The cost per episode had grown from about $130,000 in the first season to $164,000 during the third season, and that's a lot for back then. And the actors' salaries nearly doubled during this time period. The interior of the Jupiter 2, that thing behind me right there, that thing, the interior of it, sorry, I needs me a little more Martha Kristen, was the most expensive set for a television show in history at the time, at a cost of about $350,000 $1965. 20th Century Fox, this is very important, that produced the show, had recently really took it on the chin and lost a ton of money for the movie with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton called Cleopatra. And that is believed to have caused huge budget cuts all over the place. Irwin Allen says we can't do this show with a reduced budget. We're doing the best we can as it is. Allen became furious when he was told the budget would be reduced 15% for season 3. The Lost in Space Forever DVD cites declining ratings and escalating costs as the reason for cancellation. Irwin Allen did admit that season 3 ratings showed an increasing percentage of children among the total viewers, and that was not the audience advertisers wanted. That was not a quality audience. That was a Saturday morning audience, not a primetime audience, because kids didn't have no money. And the things that kids spend money on, gum and stuff like that, they didn't have the money to advertise on primetime television. Also, my man, Guy Williams here, he had grown extremely embittered. And I'm going to tell you how embittered in just a second. With his role on the show as it became more and more campy and centered on the wacky hijinks of Dr. Smith, well, guess what? He retired from acting and relocated to Argentina after the end of Lost in Space. And this guy used to be Zorro. For crying out loud, he was Zorro and everything. You know what I mean? Just quit. Quit the game. Move to Argentina. There's several documentaries on Lost in Space, believe it or not, which is featured, Lost in Space, in a great documentary called The Fantasy Worlds of Irwin Allen. And actually, the hosts are Bill Mumy and June Lockhart. That was made in 1995. Lost in Space Forever was made in 1998 to promote that film version that came out, and then I'm not really going to talk about here. A lot of technology and equipment was used on Lost in Space that was kind of interesting. They had a magnetic lock. It was a nuclear-powered flying saucer. It operated on this fictional substance called deuteronium. By the way, the magnetic lock was for the robot. It was magnetically locked onto the ship. They had a little all-terrain vehicle called the Chariot, which could be taken apart while they were flying but put back together when they needed it. It was actually a cannibalized version of the Thiokol Snowcat Sprite, with a Ford 170 cubic inch inline 6, 101 horsepower, with the 4-speed automatic transmission. So, hey now. Incidentally, test footage of the Chariot for the first season of the series, you can see that on YouTube. Most of the Chariot's body panels were clear, including the roof and its dome-shaped gun hatch. They had a jetpack, specifically a rocket belt, and occasionally Professor Robinson or Major Don West would use it. And that space pod was sort of modeled on the Apollo lunar module. There we go. They had a bunch of laser guns. By the way, Professor John Robinson is wearing the rocket pack in this photo that's on the screen right now. They had laser guns, sling-carried rifles, and holstered pistols. Come on. That personal issue laser gun, the pistol one, was a film prop modified from a toy semi-automatic pistol made by Remco. The ship had a force field around it. They used little transceivers to communicate. The robot ran air and soil tests and could discharge very strong electrostatic charges from his claws. He had a scanner that could detect threats and produce a defensive smoke screen. He actually could detect faint smells and could understand speech and speak it in his own right of other aliens. The robot claimed the ability to read human minds by translating emitted thought waves back into words. Come on. They also had some weird technologies that simplified or did away with mundane tasks, like the automatic laundry that took seconds to clean, iron, fold, and package clothes in clear plastic bags. The dishwasher would also wash dishes in just seconds. They, by the way, did some things that now exist in our real world. Reflective space blankets, which was then a brand new development on the part of NASA. The crew's space suits were made with aluminum-coated fabric, just like NASA's Mercury spacesuits, and they had Velcro fasteners, which NASA had started using but wouldn't use as much until later on. They grew a hydroponic garden. Hey, man, it's hydro, dude. They also had protein pills, which was a complete nutritional substitute for normal foods in case of emergency. Now, the ratings, a lot of people in the science fiction community, or as we call it, the communita, they have pointed to Lost in Space as an example of early television's poor record at producing science fiction. The series' deliberate fantasy elements were maybe overlooked, as it drew a lot of comparisons to its alleged rival Star Trek. But Lost in Space was a mild rating success, unlike Star Trek, which got really pretty poor ratings during its original TV run. Here's my proof. The more cerebral adult Star Trek never averaged higher than 52nd in the ratings during its 3 seasons. While Lost in Space finished season 1 in 35th place, season 2 in 44th place, and then the third season, 53rd place. Lost in Space also ranked 3rd as one of the top 5 favorite new shows for its first season. The other contenders were The Big Valley, Get Smart, hey now, I Dream of Jeannie, and F Troop. So it was right in there with some very, very, very popular shows. Lost in Space was the favorite show of John F. Kennedy Jr. while he was growing up in the 60s. So much so that after he crashed into the ocean with his wife and her sister, he was, and this is not confirmed, but rumor has it, he crashed into the ocean, all of them, you know, what happened to them. And then he said, oh, the pain. Lost in Space did receive an Emmy Award. It was the 1966 Emmy for Cinematography Special Photographic Effects. And it was just a nomination. It didn't win. It got nominated again for Visual Arts and Makeup in 1968, but it didn't win. However, in 2008, TV Land nominated and awarded the series for Awesomest Robot. Awesomest Robot. The theme music was written by John Williams, who I think most of you know did the music for Star Trek, but he was listed in the credits that early in his career as Johnny Williams. Hey, everybody, here's a new one from Johnny Williams. The original pilot and much of season 1 reused Bernard Herrmann's eerie score from the classic sci-fi film The Day the Earth Stood Still from 1951. Another composer that worked on the show was a gentleman by the name of Alexander Courage, who did the theme and the music for the original Star Trek. It's been syndicated everywhere. So, yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. There was the movie, there were attempts while everybody was still alive to do reunions. Billy Mooney wrote a script for one of them, and none of them ever happened. There was a movie in 1998. It's an okay movie. Jonathan Harris, Dr. Smith, was offered a cameo appearance, not as Dr. Smith, though. That was Gary Oldman in the movie. But as a global sedition leader who hires and then betrays Smith. And he turned down the role, reportedly saying, "I play Smith or I don't play. And I've never played a bit part in my life, and I'm not going to start now." Anyway, many years later, Jonathan Harris, Dr. Smith, was on Late Night with Conan O'Brien, mentioning the role that was offered to him, saying, "Yes, they offered me a part in the new movie. 6 lines." He was such a drama queen. Bill Mumy was likewise offered a cameo, but he turned it down after being told he wouldn't be considered for the part he wanted, the role of older Will Robinson. If you've seen the movie, there's a time shift thing that goes on. Because he was told it would confuse the audience. I think if it was done today, they would love to. Audiences today love to see the callbacks. They love that. And so I think he probably would have gotten to do it today. And I think most people would have really liked it. Who remembers the dude that played older Will Robinson in that 1998 movie? Nobody. He did a fine job. I'm not saying I'm mad at him. But it would have been better to have Billy Mumy. I think we all realize that. And the movie did use a number of things from the original show. There was a television series in 2004, which actually, just had a pilot film, but they never produced the series. And in 2018 to 2021, they did another TV series, and this one was actually pretty good, but it is a very different type of show than the original Lost in Space. It's far more serious. It's pretty good. It ain't bad. But it's another one of those shows. The first season was like, yeah, all right. And then, yeah. I mentioned the comics. There's a novel. There's a Saturday Superstar cartoon movie. Yeah. Dr. Smith was voiced by Jonathan Harris, but he was the only character for the original program to appear in the special, along with the robot, There were 2 board games. By the way, Billy Mumy became a musician. He's got a band and everything. And as part of his 1997 album, Dying to Be Heard, Bill recorded The Ballad of William Robinson, in which a now 42-year-old Will Robinson recounts the premise of Lost in Space, the current state of his family. His father, Professor John Robinson, has died 5 years previously, and his despair at still being lost in space. So you can listen to that, by the way, online if you'd like to. It's been released into home media. You can find it on Blu-ray. You can find it on DVD. And that, frankly, is all that I really have to tell you about the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful 1960s TV series, Lost in Space. Lost in Space. Let me get to some of your intrepid comments, and we'll comment on them. Oh, boy. Oh, jeepers. The Wolf. Thank you for the $5, Wolf. Well, for that, Wolf. As everyone knows, anyone who donates to the show gets the highest and most coveted honor you can be bestowed with, and that is the point. That's right. And by the way, if you're a member of the Tom Gulley Show, you can tune in 1 o'clock on Sunday, Eastern Time, and ask the Wolf, who will solve all of your relationship, home improvement, automotive care, any question. No question is too small. Thank you so much. He says, ouch, my back is killing me. And I happen to know that's probably actually true on the part of the Wolf. Got some bad back. Let's see here. Smoke detectors laughing. People saying, I can't. I just can't. I'm sorry. Well, Funky Bronco, I'm sorry. It's gotten old, buddy. The Wolf says, how dare they pit Batman against danger. Julian Zeezer says, if this chat had a flight plan, Dr. Smith definitely tampered with it. Oh, always, every episode. The Smoke Detector quite rightfully says, it's the Dr. Smith show and some other guys. That's what it turned into. The Wolf is laughing. Smoke Dissector says, you have her number? Let's get Marta on the line. Actually, I know somebody that might know her. Actually, I bet you Ed Robertson probably knows her personally. And I so want to be Ed Robertson when I grow up. Kim Warfield says, she can't smoke. Her back is too delicate now. Her spine is probably liquid at 80. No, she's smoking hot and always will be. There she is, calcified. That's some niche OnlyFans content. Calcified space lady. Victor says, I like June Lockhart. Well, that's for you, Victor, right there. That's for you, my man. Just for you. Or if you need a guy in the picture to make it more real, I guess that could be for you. But I think probably you like that a little better. Julian Zeter says, Dr. Smith tried to escape to Argentina, but even they wouldn't take him. Yeah, they took Professor Robertson. Exophthalamus says, I enjoyed the most recent remake of the show. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a totally different kind of show, totally different feel. I remember that the first season rocked. And then after that, it kind of slowly tapered off in quality. But Smoke Dissector says, a rocket bell like Die Glocke. And Smith tried to escape to Argentina. Ja, jawohl. Smoke Detector is posing the question. Victor says, I staffed a live in fires in Oregon. June Lockhart did a show on Lassie called The Fire Watchers. Good show. Yes, June Lockhart, very, very famous for Lassie and for Depends, adult underwear. Victor says, I never liked episodes with that monkey. The monkey was stupid. Bloop. So dumb. Hey, there's John Mick. I miss Get Smart. I always wanted a shoe phone. I was even tempted to carve a shoe out to embed a Bluetooth speaker and a microphone in it. Well, Galumbo could always do that for you as well. But just for you, my man, I am going to get Smart Tom Gulley up here for you. There you are. There you are. That's just for you. There's Get Smart Tom Gulley. Then after thinking further, if I stepped on dog poop, I wouldn't want that anywhere near my face. Exactly. Crappy idea. People laughing. I wonder how Maxwell Smart dealt with the dog poop. Probably the same way I did. Don't step in it. Just a little note from me to you. Little Anthony and the Blues Imperials. All right. Phone lines are open at 972-994-6822, but not for very long. And then the floating and the thing and the opening of Lost in Space is incredibly good. Incredibly good. As is Marta Kristen. And you know what? Ed Robertson gave me information to contact Ruta Lee, and I still haven't done it. And I still haven't contacted Ed. I'm going to do that tonight. I need to contact him because he was going to be on this show again, and I was going to be on his show. And he's on a real show. He's like on radio stations and things. He's got a real show, not this put together with spit and baling wire thing we do. Let's see here. Victor says, I believe the robot was used in the movie Forbidden Planet. Well, you can be forgiven for thinking that. That looks very much like Robbie the Robot, doesn't it? But it's not. It's not. It's extremely close. It's so close, in fact, that anybody would say, oh, that's Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet. One of the reasons you know that's not the case is because Robbie the Robot was actually a guest on the show. If you see them right next to each other, it's pretty obvious they're not the same thing. But without seeing them right next to each other, they're very, very, very close. Jay Bizzle's here. Hey, Tom. Hey, Jay Bizzle. What's up, man? The Wolf says, now that I receive the point, I feel explosive. I become a speed merchant. Well, you do have quick feet, cords of muscle, athletic, scrappy. The Wolf says, Bill as Little Anthony sure is fine. I gotcha. He's real good. He's real good. Billy Mooney is real good. 972-994-6822. Hey, man, if you're watching right now, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the show. We'd really appreciate it. You'd be doing us a solid. You really, really would. You'd really be doing us a solid. I only say that because I love saying, man, let me do you a solid. Any old phraseology I can use. Let's see here. I think I've got a notification here in my thing. Oh, it says no new notifications. What the hell is that all about? What's that all about? What's that all about, man? Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying your Friday night. I hope many of you that are members, and if you aren't, please become one, but I hope many of you will join us on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, members only, for Ask the Wolf. And the Wolf will answer all your questions on life, love, laughter, construction, weightlifting, lifting up cars with your bare hands, fighting trees, making guru. Smoke Detector says, let me slip you a Mickey Finn. Wolf says he'll be lost in space if you don't. John says the notification is likely because I hit that like button. Thank you. Thanks for liking the show. And subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. You don't have to become a member and actually spend $2.99 a month, which, let's face it, $2.99 a month, really, for this? For this? Are you kidding me? How's it going over there in Ireland there, John? How you doing over there? You going to produce a recreation of Lost in Space? Next week on the program, Monday, Bigfoot. Tuesday, The Wild Wild West. Wednesday, invention of color TV, or the development of color TV, how they came up with it, did it, decided to do what they did. And then Thursday, it will be Recessa Annie, who all of us had to make out with in high school to get our lifeguard certification. Already am. Okay, man. Victor says, you do it all. Oh, it's right, Canada. You're from up there in Canada. Are you the guy that listens with your brother sometimes and calls in there? Oh, I don't know, Tom. I need to know what the show's about. The era or the movie? Are you talking about the Wild Wild West? I'm talking about the TV show with Robert Conrad. Down, 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 down. Dun, 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 na, na, na. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. All right. John says, it's been a while since I spoke on the phone with you, so totally understandable. You got a lot of followers worldwide. It's staggering. I don't know how I keep up with it all. I've got tens of listeners. Victor says, I was a logger, timber faller, and forester. Cool. Yep, that's us. That's us. Smoke Detector says, yeah, I got you. Where did you guys live? I want to say you lived in Alberta or somewhere. You didn't live in Vancouver. You didn't live in Toronto. You were somewhere in the middle. I can't remember now. I mean, obviously, it would be somewhere in the middle if it's not one of those two places. I do remember that. You're not in Thunder Bay. You're not in Tuktoyaktuk or Inuvik. I don't think you were Montreal. Was it Edmonton or Calgary? Saskatchewan. There you go. Are they the Rough Riders, Saskatchewan? Aren't there two Rough Riders in the CFL? I can't remember. It's tough to pronounce. Saskatchewan. I think I did it. Not as hard as Etobicoke. And one of these days we are going to cover due south. God, I love due south. Jeepers creepers, I love due south. Oregon. It's a nice place. Smoke detector says everybody who lives in Vancouver does improv. What a hellscape. I liked Vancouver. I like it. I like it, and I like it a lot. Okay, I'm going to close down these phone lines. And I am going to let you guys go have a weekend filled with mirth and revelry, in that order. And I don't know what I'm doing after that. I've got so many TV shows to watch. It's sickening. I did, yes. What did I watch yesterday? I said I was going to watch right after the thing, because I watched it. Whatever it was. I know the day before I was going to watch the Tread documentary, which I did. So, whatever. Okay, well, so A Weekend at Bernie's. I don't want to watch. I hate that movie. It's so stupid. Nobody's carting a dead guy around and doing that many things with it. I think it would be so gamey and bodily juices and okay, kids. Well, hey, man, thank you all for joining us for this Lost in Space marathon here. John Carpenter's The Thing. Hey, you know, Roller Skater Texas Girl, I didn't watch The Thing today, but what I did watch was on YouTube, the director's commentary, but it wasn't just the director. It was John Carpenter and Kurt Russell both. And they couldn't really get away with showing the film. So they had stills of the film with the sound faintly underneath it while they were talking about the things they did to produce and direct and act in that movie. It was really good. Really good. Victor says, I lived in places like Curtin Prospect and Halfway, one-horse towns. One-horse towns. Yes, it's a one-horse town. Oh, nice. It was one of my favorite shows. It's a damn fine show, Roller Skater Texas Girl. Hey, with all that in mind, I always have to, I don't know why it does this to me, but anyway, with all that in mind, I'm looking at that old clock on the wall, and it says, well, like the Reverend Al Green, time for me to get on up out of here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And I guess that means the only thing left to say, members only show Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, Ask the Wolf, is till next time. We'll see you next time.